meeting for September the 17th. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and we are going to have O Canada sung by or played by Gillis School. Please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Gillis School. I'm going to ask Trustee Dent to read out our treaty acknowledgement, please.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Dustin. So for the people that are joining us online, my name is Paul Mangan. I'm the chair of the board. And in our room tonight, to my left, we have Superintendent Reed. We have Secretary Treasurer Thiessen. We have Assistant Superintendent Philberg. We have Trustee Boytson, Trustee Rowan. We have our Transportation Manager, Mr. Maintenance Manager, Mr. Ryback, Derek Ryback. We have Trustee Smith, Trustee Nickel, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Dent. We have our board support lady, Mrs. Scott, and we have Trustee Harris with us. So that's the crew that are here that you're watching online. Welcome to our meeting. We're going to have our adoption of our agenda, so please be it resolved the board approve the agenda. I need a move, and it's moved by Trustee Nickel, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions to it? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Chair's comments. If you have any questions, please do so by sending the questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Put your name and address on the sender that you're in there. And during a question period, we'll get back to you with trying to answer that question for you. We do take some time with sharing a story, so I'm going to open the floor up to trustees about sharing a story as we talk about one of the things that the board is looking at doing is about community engagement, and so we encourage as many of our trustees to bring forward information from their schools or some of the things that are going on. So anyone wants to take hers? Trustee Dent.
Yeah, so Springfield Collegiate has their annual AGM for their SCI PAC, and that will be on September 24th at 7 p.m. So if you're available, please come and join us.
Thanks, Trustee Dent. Trustee Rowan.
Both SCI and SMS had their welcome back barbecues on Thursday, September 12th. While I was unable to attend SCI's barbecue, I was able to stop into SMS for their barbecue. In speaking with the Vice Principal, Heather Bethune, it sounds like this year was the largest attendance in recent years, so it was great to see so many families out at the event. Trustee Dent had said, SCI has their first PAC meeting of the year next Tuesday, September 24th. The meeting will be held at the school's library, and I've had a chance to look at their plan for the upcoming year, and they've got lots of great ideas. Dugald PAC has their first meeting next week on Wednesday, September 25th. The meeting will be held in the school's library, and they have childcare available during the meeting, should you need it. So if you have children at SCI or Dugald, I hope you'll consider checking out their PAC meetings next week.
Thanks, Melissa. Trustee Nicol.
Okay, Whitemouth School had a who's who competition that involved the whole school. What it's all about was that all staff on the first day of school were given a t-shirt drawing to fill in, front and back. On the front, the staff member had to put one key word that best describes them. On the back, they could be their favorite saying, emblem, or slogan. They then had to color the t-shirt their favorite color. Students were given a ballot with all the staff's name with associated t-shirt numbers. Students filled them in, and the unveiling okayed at our first whole school assembly. And the school assembly was going to be later on, so I can't give you the results of that, but I will do it next time. And the reason that they did this is they wanted to get the students to know the teachers more than just teachers, but as people. And that was the whole idea behind having who's who. Whitemouth held their first PAC meeting last night, and they're looking forward to the PAC meeting the divisional PAC meeting in October.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol. Trustee Wilson.
Centennial School will be holding its Indigenous Cultural Day on September the 27th, and their Terry Fox Run on October 1st, and I'll be attending both events, and looks like a great couple of days.
Thanks, Donna. Anyone else? Trustee Smith, did you want to?
Sure. I just wanted to mention that Gillis's PAC meeting is this Thursday at 6 p.m. That's it right now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Harris.
Hey, Cole Bowles, this is your early year school had their PAC meeting last week. Their next meeting is October the 8th, which is their AGM.
Thank you. I had a chance to go to the Poverty School, meet the teacher, ate as many hot dogs as I could and talk to as many people as possible. I had lots of fun, and it was great to see everybody out. It was a pretty good crowd. Superintendent Reed happened to join us later, and I ate more hot dogs than him, so that was pretty good. Now it was great to see everybody out. Thanks for people about coming. On I can't remember the date, but it was on a Friday, 2 Fridays ago. I went to SCI, and I saw the SCI football team play against Murdoch McKay. SCI's got a pretty good. It was great to see lots of people out in Oak Bank. It was great to see SCI's got a pretty strong football team, and kudos to all the people that are supporting it and getting it going. It was great. It was just good to see, and again got a chance to talk to. I probably didn't watch as much of the football game because I was talking with lots of people, but it was great to see. So thanks for the invite, Principal Dell, for reminding me about the football game. And there's lots of things that have been going on in all of our schools, whether it's been Terry Fox runs, whether it's been activities to get off the school year. It's, you know what, from the different schools that I hear, the things that are going on, it's been a pretty good start to the school year. Anyone else? Okay, share a story. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to turn this board delegation, so I'm going to turn this over to you, Jody, to introduce who we have sitting in front of us here.
Thanks. So tonight we're honored and privileged. We shown a presentation from our maintenance manager, Derek Ryback. Derek's department, him and Rita, work as a great team, and they keep me informed of all the hot topics and all the urgent matters that we have to address, and sometimes we have to go to schools and inspect what's going on and take a look at the needs. And this few weeks leading up to the opening of the schools, I was really fortunate to go around and check out a handful of schools and really see all the hard work that was done over the summer. And I have to say, Derek has a great team of custodians that he works with, and I wish everybody could see how well he communicates with them and what a great team it is. So, so hopefully in his presentation he's going to show and talk about how great his team is. And if only you guys could see. But the schools are extremely clean, extremely well maintained, and it's definitely because of Derek and his keen eye noticing all the small details. So, so tonight we're going to listen from Derek. I'll pop up the presentation.
Thank you, Jody. You just shortened my presentation by about 3 minutes. Greatly appreciated. Sunrise School Division buildings and grounds are positive contributors to the educational experience of all students and communities we serve. A process of continuous improvement is needed to maintain our aging infrastructure. The long-term stewardship of our school facilities is vital to ensuring that we are able to serve our community for many years to come. The maintenance department consists of a maintenance clerk, maintenance worker, head custodians, night custodians, and cleaners. The 4 classifications that I just mentioned provide a solid structure supporting the maintenance manager and result in a very successful operational team. The maintenance department cleans and maintains approximately 750,000 square feet of buildings, 13 schools, and 6 non-educational facilities. 11 out of 13 of our schools were built in the early to late 1960s, and therefore significant preventive maintenance is required. All projects are prioritized according to building operation needs and budget to help perform preventive measures that will prolong the life of the building. Some examples of the capital planning financed by the province of Manitoba are new schools, exterior wall replacements, elevators, grooming rooms, roof replacements, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrades, school additions, dust collectors. A 5-year capital plan is submitted to the province of Manitoba for consideration for these projects. Long-term planning involves creating strategic goals that may take up substantial time to accomplish due to budgeting constraints the province is currently experiencing. All capital projects, once approved, normally take a 2 to 4 year cycle from start to completion date. Since 2002, Sunrise School Division has received more than $50 million of approved projects by the province of Manitoba. Maintenance department goals. The goals of the maintenance department are maintain school division buildings in a way that enhances the educational experience for students, staff, and the community. Maintenance planning and resolution of buildings conditions are essential to the long-term operations of facilities in Sunrise. I talk lots about the custodial team. A lot of times I seem to present lots about what's going on in the projects. Seem not to forget about the custodial team, which is a team that deserves a lot of credit for the way our schools look, as Jody mentioned. Sunrise School custodial team, awesome group of employees who are dedicated to ensure cleanliness of our facilities that exceed our expectations. During the school year, they are the first ones to enter the buildings and the last ones to leave the building. Custodians are the first call for a problem in a classroom. It could be a spill, a leak, or detect a smell in the building. During the winter months, they are there first thing in the morning to make sure that all engines are cleared and ready for staff and students. School breaks during the custodial team work very hard throughout the year. During the summer months, deep cleaning of the schools take place, and the Christmas break and spring break. They empty all the classrooms and clean thoroughly from top to bottom. Their ultimate goal is to make sure that the schools are thoroughly clean, so it allows them time to do some extra work such as painting. A lot of painting has happened during the summer, which is great to see, as Jody and I saw during our tours when we toured on August the 20th. The pride of our division begins with our buildings and grounds. Please join us in thanking our custodial maintenance team for their hard work and dedication. We are grateful for the support of this invaluable team. Here are some of the pictures of what was accomplished during the summer. You can see by looking at the photos in the top corner, Edward Shire School. And the one on to the right of it is also Edward Shire School. Below that is Gillis School and Whitemount School on the left. More pictures, Springfield Middle School. In summary, I've been in the division for almost 30 years. Very fortunate to have built a successful team. The successful team is not just because of me. A lot of people reflect and say, boy, Mr. Ravick's a good guy. He does a lot of great things for Sunrise. The support comes from the top, which I mean the Division Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Secretary-Treasurer, school administrators, staff, students, parents, who all take pride in the buildings that we have. The knowledge and experience that I have been in the last little while working with Jody Thiessen is amazing. It makes it easier for me as a maintenance manager to bring forward my concerns and also working on our budgets to allow to make sure that we have the money available to do things. We do have some challenges in the maintenance department, one being inflation costs. Material and labor is inflated to a point that what we used to do for $20,000 does nothing. We look at control upgrades for a building that we're looking at currently is over $150,000 and climbing. We have a shortage of staff. People are retiring. They're getting at the age where they're considering retiring. And by the way, I'm in that age group too. So we're looking at, so there's some challenges going forward, and we're working again with meetings that Jordan and I, we diligently meet daily, sometimes 3 times a day. We're always texting, always something going on. And Trevor, being the superintendent, has a lot of experience, and also in the operations side, it makes our job easier. People understanding what our roles are and the importance of our roles is what makes our Sunrise School Division a proud place to be. I'm very proud to be working for Sunrise School Division. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Derek. Very well said. Nice work. You can breathe now and relax a little bit about the very good presentation. Thank you. I think that the 9 of us here concur a lot of things about what you said with regard to our staff, with regard to some of the work that you're doing. You know what, we're pretty happy. I think that you've heard all of us talk about as we get into our schools in September and take a look at how the spit shine on our floors are. You know, the smiles when we get a chance and see kids coming into our buildings at the beginning of the year and what they look like. Yeah, they're pretty impressive and nice work, certainly for you. We're going to open it up to, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Ryback? Trustee Nicol.
One of the questions, one's a statement. I'd like to thank you for keeping the Tyndallstone and Whitemount School clean. I know you went on a rotational system. I don't know whether it's every 4 years or 5 years, but I looked at the other day and I said, yeah, we must just clean it not too long ago, because if you don't clean it, what happens, it gets a black fungus on it and it doesn't look that great. The other thing is, you probably have a plan, but I haven't seen it, or I've seen it and I don't remember it. What is your plan to have air conditioning in every room, in every school in the division?
It's a good question, Trustee Nicol. The plan is to have, on our 5-year plan, which is submitted to the province, we cannot undertake putting air conditioning throughout our school buildings. It's impossible. The work to complete this task is quite expensive. To give you an example, as you guys are aware, we just did an HVAC upgrade at Springfield Collegiate. Now it's well over $3 million on the HVAC. The total project's over $8 million. So it's something that we cannot tackle on from a budget side of things. Our goal is to keep on and putting it on our 5-year capital plan and letting the province of Manitoba know that's one of the things that we're requesting. We look at things, for example, we look at key things, heating systems, boilers. Since I've been in the maintenance department, I would say 95% of our boilers have been replaced to date. We had steam boilers that are running in our schools. We are now running hot water boiler systems that all been upgraded. So yes, air conditioning is a necessity more and more as the temperatures in the summer are increasing. So our goal is to look at a plan with the province, work with the province. And then keeping in mind the province has also the entire province of Manitoba to deal with, so it goes by order of priority. And I believe with the province of Manitoba, with the budget situation they're in and the issues they're having with some of the buildings that are well older than ours, before the 1960s, are dealing with a lot of heating upgrades and are faced with a lot of expenses that they're having a hard time getting all their items looked after.
I'll further add to that. I know with Whitemouth School, Centennial School, even Enola, some of those sites don't have completely 100% air conditioning throughout the whole schools, but what we've identified is the age to the province, and we've listed those schools, those sites, especially Whitemouth. They do need upgrades, and the province, we've been informed, they don't just look at air conditioning needs, they look at all school needs. So if we say we're replacing their HVAC because of air conditioning, we need to say more than air conditioning. So if a boiler system's more than 40 years old, they'll recognize that as a higher priority than just air conditioning. So most of those schools that we do have on our 5-year capital, or on our capital plan at least, we're identifying they need a system upgrade, and along with that upgrade comes the air conditioning. So it's just a waiting game now.
I have a question for you, Derek. What would be if you could ballpark our schools, what's the percentage of our schools that have air conditioning?
I would say we're 75% plus. A lot of our schools that had HVAC upgrades automatically were replaced with air conditioning in the schools. Years ago when we did HVAC upgrades, I'll give you an example, was Hazelwood School, and we did the upgrade there. The province of Manitoba at the time did not include covering the cost of air conditioning. Today when they do an HVAC project, it's included in the project, which is good. So we can't just, I know it's a situation, some of the schools are outstanding, still need air conditioning. It's just difficult for us to put forward a project if the HVAC system is technically working and it still has some life left in it. We can't just force the hand to have it replaced, and just because we want to put air conditioning into the school, as much as I'd like to.
Thanks. Any other questions for Trustee Rowland?
So we're really grateful and happy that we had these two big projects just coming to completion in Beausejour and at SCI just coming to conclusion. What are the next biggest projects that you see coming for us that either approved or will be approved soon, or we're hoping to be approved?
I'm hoping that we see some movement on the Enola School HVAC replacement there and upgrade. That one is long overdue, and we have some roof replacements that are on the docket for replacement. Again, it's funding. I'm not sure if you guys recall in our capital 5-year plan, usually it would go from 2025 on. Now it's switched from 2026. So by me hearing that and seeing that, it doesn't look like there'll be much projects for the 2025 school year, unless it's a major emergency project.
Thanks, Derek. Anyone else? Trustee Harris?
Since we have the maintenance manager here, this may or may not be a question that you can answer. It might have to be our secretary treasurer. The early years school here in town has a huge development across from it, which I've raised concerns in the past about access for our students to get to. They dearly need a sidewalk along, I think is it Joyce? Either on the school side or the other side, so that our students can get to and from school safely. Is that something that is in the works?
I think the best way to address that issue would be to have a meeting with the town of Beausejour and bring our concerns forward. Yes, there's a lot of development happening there, and for the safety of the students and staff that are crossing the area, and also the crossing the bus loop area is a concern for us. So I think it would be something that Jody and myself will have a meeting with the town of Beausejour in the near future to voice our concern and start working on a long-range plan for that, or should I say short-term plan, because the way the developments are moving, everything's happening quickly.
So I think that, so Jody, I think Derek just volunteered you to do something, so, but I think that it's great. So if you're going to meet with planning people, then let us know. If you're going to meet with any of the say the word, any of the officials, thank you. Try to involve the 2 local trustees certainly involved if that's the case. If you're going to go ahead and meet, but that's a great idea. Okay. Any other questions for Derek, our maintenance manager? Sorry about that, Derek. Anyways, Derek, I think that on behalf of all of us, thanks very much for coming in and doing this. I think that we're in good hands with you as to where things have been going. And yeah, unfortunately, money does get tight, and we'll see where things are going. But I think that you've outlined in your presentation kind of the priorities that you've done and where you go. And you do bring your capital plan to the board. The board then submits the capital plan based on discussion with the board. So thanks for continuing to go ahead and do that. Jody, did you want anything?
I just want to say thank you so much for those kind words. I wasn't expecting that, but it is a pleasure working with you, Derek, and your team. So thank you so much. And it's really nice to hear and be recognized with this wonderful board that actually functions wonderfully as a board. And we can talk about the capital plan, and they can ask questions, and there is all the information you and I are able to provide them. So it's a great board to work with to see the vision and the needs of the school division. So it's great.
Thank you.
And we do expect that it's only 7:30, so we'll see you here at 9 o'clock as well to finish up the meeting. Thanks, Derek. All right, we're going to move on in the meeting. Thanks, Derek. Kidding aside, we're going to move on to our minutes. We have our September 3rd inaugural meeting minutes. So be it resolved, the board adopt the September 3rd inaugural board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Dent, seconded by Trustee Wilson. Any questions to it? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you. It passed 9-0. We also have our regular meeting minutes, so be it resolved, the board adopt the September 3rd regular meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Smith, second by Trustee Boytson. Any questions to that? Hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 9-0. Thank you. Now we move on to 6.1, our superintendent's report. Trev, floor is yours.
Thanks, Paul. So as you see in the report, on September the 6th, I was part of the divisional team that attended the information session hosted by the MSBA on the new provincial teacher collective agreement. Unfortunately, it wasn't as informative as we would have hoped it was going to be, but in fairness, it is a brand new agreement for everyone, and lots of the questions that were asked were very situational and quite specific, and it's probably going to take time for school divisions to work through those to see how the Teachers Society interprets the articles and the school divisions interpret the articles. The good thing is that we still collect information as it becomes available from either the MSBA or MAS or even in our Southeast Interlake Superintendents Group when new situations come up and we receive direction. We've been sharing that out. So lots of information still flowing and lots of work still to be done there. Also in the category of new, consistent with the new provincial directive, we rolled out our personal digital device procedure to all of our students and families at the start of the school year, our cell phone restrictions. Overall, it was quite a smooth, rollout. Most of our schools indicated that they already had restrictions in place that were, either at or exceeding the provincial level already, so it wasn't a shock across most of our system. We did have a couple of situations that popped up around the use of medical notes, and it was actually good because Assistant Superintendent Fielberg was aware of some information from the Manitoba College of Physicians and Surgeons, which spoke to it, specifically. So he was able to pull that back from 2018 or 2019, I believe, and we shared that with schools, and that cleared things up. So in the future, we will add that language and we will update our procedure. But we won't do that right away because we'll gather some other feedback and we'll see what happens, and we'll do a revision maybe in a couple weeks from now after we've all had a chance to kind of settle into it there. So Monday, September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Of note this year, it is a provincial statutory holiday, so this will be the first year that it is a statutory holiday, so there is no school for staff and students on Monday, September the 30th. But more importantly than that, our schools will be engaging lots of learning activities around the recognition of the day, and that'll typically happen in the week before the Monday to Friday, the 23rd to the 27th, before the statutory holiday on the Monday itself. And just a closing comment, overall I would say that our school division, I think, has experienced a smooth start to the 24-25 school year. And just having said that, a big thank you going out to our schools, our school leaders, and all of our operational departments for all the work that they put in to welcome our students and families back into school. We're welcoming, of course, over 4,800 students, and it takes a lot of work to get ready for that. And when it goes smoothly, the credit goes to the people on the front line. So thank you to those people who were actually face-to-face with our families and students and doing the work to make sure that their buildings and departments were welcoming places.
And Trev, before I open it up for questions, so one of the things you talked about the personal digital device procedure, and you made reference to something that Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg came with regard to medical notes. Is it something that's available to share with us?
Yeah, I'll speak to it and then I'll invite Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg to jump in if he wants. But it comes through with what mostly under the category of what can and what a doctor's note cannot say in terms of describing what happens in a public school setting. And so there may be doctor's notes that we receive that prescribe or recommend something that just actually isn't feasible within the public school setting. And parents may come with under the misassumption that we need to comply with that. But we don't. We have our operational rules or guidelines here in the school, and it's a balance between a doctor's recommendation and what we can operationally actually facilitate in the school. So that's the general theme of the topic there. Lars, I don't know if you want to add anything or?
Very briefly, we've had experience in the past where doctors specifically, I'm going to put in quotation marks, prescribe. It might not be in a prescription paper, sometimes it is, but it's in a doctor's note that a student needs this thing that isn't a medication. It's like an EA, bus transportation. So the College of Physicians and Surgeons sent out a newsletter in 2018. So that's what it's based on. That's public information. We can get copies to board members if you want. It just indicates that schools maintain the decision about educational programming. Medical doctors can only provide medical information that we would use to make decisions.
Thanks, Lars. Any questions for Lars or Trevor? Trevor, it was good to see that it was kind of a smooth start, so let's keep going. Right on. Okay, let's keep moving. We have a board reporting schedule that's there for information for trustees, and if we want to go ahead, can you put that? Thank you. So you'll see the information that's up there and what's coming to us. If you need anything, if we want any changes as a group, we would go ahead and talk together, but those are the things that are forward for us. Questions on that? Anyone? Okay, let's move on. We have Secretary 7.1, Secretary Treasurer's Report. Jody?
Thank you. So I've provided an update with operations, what's going on. I just wanted to focus a little bit more on transportation tonight on, I guess one of the things that have been coming through my emails and phone calls, through transportation, we do allow busing for school of choice students, and there are times where those students may not get the busing that they expected. So there is criteria that we list on our website, and I've also attached to the meeting agenda package the guide that we kind of instruct and follow for our families. But we also provide some rules around busing for school of choice. So in the event that families don't meet the criteria that we have, like on an existing bus route, or if the student resides or student's residence falls outside of the walk zone, we have a couple things for criteria. Our transportation department would communicate that with the families, and if those families didn't like the options or suggestions or the answer of no, they can reach out to myself and I would review the guidelines and see maybe there's some options we can provide them. Maybe we can massage the rules or look at maybe there was an interpretation differently. So we could take a look. In some of the events, I can agree with the family or agree with our transportation manager. There are times where the answer will still be no to the families, but they wish to appeal. This is the time when they will make an application as a board delegate or a delegate to the board and state their case to the board. And then the board can either agree with the family or see that our rules don't quite apply, but we'd like to accommodate for them. Or maybe we'd make a suggestion of reviewing the rules and making some changes. So I've talked to a few families now, and we may have a few families that wish to make it board delegation in the future. So I think this is just a refresher to the board members. We don't often see delegations to the board regarding transportation. I think we try our best to reasonably accommodate families, and sometimes families can work it out with other families, or we can arrange another bus location or bus meeting location, but sometimes they are far out there or we just can't accommodate. So that's when they're going to come to the board and we can see what we can do. So this is kind of a refresher of the process. So when the delegation comes, there'll be information that's provided from the family's point of view, and then I'll provide a report, or myself or the superintendent will provide a bit of a report on suggestions made in the past and recommendations. So all that information will be provided that evening of the families, should they choose to present. They have to provide their documentation about 8 days before the board meeting. So if they want to meet on the October 1st or make a presentation on October 1st, they'll have to have their paperwork in by September 23rd. So those were some of the things, some of the rules about being a board delegate, and especially around transportation. So that's something I wanted to highlight. And then through here, I have a couple other points. Finance has been really busy on working on our year-end audit. We did have the auditors arrive the week of September 9th. They actually showed up a day early, but thankfully we were ready for them. So we just had to clean out an office for them to sit about 4 people in an office and start reviewing our paperwork. But I'm happy for the finance team. We were ready for them to come, and we were ready to provide them all their information they were looking for. So this week they're just following up with some paperwork, but I have to say it's been really great. It's been refreshing that we were able to provide them all the information in a timely fashion, and nobody was stressed out. This is a first year for an audit that sometimes there's some uniqueness going around, or because the startup of school and an audit at the same time. But I think everybody was able to remain calm and get the information when we needed to them, so it was really well. So I want to say kudos to the finance team and everybody who's helped. And then we're going to be getting ready for the student enrollment count. That's going to happen on September 27th. That's when we do the head count of all our students, and this is where we get our funding from the province. So we have to provide the province with the head count, who's all on school buses, kilometer count, all that information we compile on the 27th. We put it together in the provincial reporting system, and then we send it off by mid-October. And that's how we get our funding. So when we have students that are absent that day, we have to make sure that they are our students still. We still have to follow up with them. So it's a very busy time for the schools, but we're looking forward to it. It'll be our second year working with our new software program, Power School Student Information System. We've made some tweaks, and with the application tech that we've hired and the new position that we've created, we feel pretty confident on the capabilities of between finance working with the application tech and putting together packages and information to the school secretaries as to what we need. So it seems a lot of information is being shared and learning is being done, and it's really, really great to see. I think there's some other information in here, but everybody had a chance to read the report, so feel free to ask me any questions.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Secretary Treasurer Thiessen? All right. Nice job, Jody. Thank you. We're going to go to board business. Board business is our grade 1 to 8 report card data. That's you, Mr. Reed. I'll turn it to you.
So you were provided with both the overall data report and the PowerPoint and some comments and interpretation from myself there. So I'll just run through this quickly. This is a report that the majority would you have seen before. It's repeated information that Superintendent Timko has shared with you in the past in terms of all the background. I did add a couple of pieces there for the board's information. I did add a bit of an expanded explanation with the rubric scores, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, with the descriptors of limited understanding, basic understanding, good understanding, very good to excellent understanding. And then the comment below, which I thought was important, is basically scores of 2 or above on the graph that you see are indicators of students that are working with, you know, at grade level with the grade level curriculum. We often, you know, I think, you know, parents, you know, sort of strive for the 3s and the 4s, and that's what they want, but the 2 is actually students who have a basic understanding of their grade level curriculum. And that's where many of our students work, and that's a good thing. It means they're right where we would expect them to be. So just in terms of like some of my own observations or curiosities, and this is not necessarily even the prioritized list or anything of that nature, but a couple of things that I pulled out that I thought were important for the board to catch if you didn't see them on their own. In most categories and grades, we are seeing the desired outcomes of student growth throughout the year. We are seeing those graphs move from the left to the right, where kids are moving up through the indicators, and that is definitely what we want to see. We want to see kids, you know, improving and growing. There was a couple of examples there where there wasn't growth, but that was because the students started the year primarily at 3s and 4s, and then they didn't move up from there. So that was interesting why, you know, they started so strong in those categories. So one of my own follow-up questions. The data also indicates that across all categories that 90% or more of students are at grade level by the end of the school year. That is probably what we want to see. That would be consistent with data that we would see across the system, probably a little bit above data that we would see across the system in terms of how many kids are, you know, at or above grade level by the end of the school year. So that was a strong indicator of the programming and the teaching and the learning that's going on in Sunrise. And then the bottom one I thought was interesting is overall our reading scores reported on our report card seem to be higher than the anecdotal conversations we're having around the school division. As we talk to teachers, there seems to be more concern about students' reading abilities than are reflected in the scores on report cards. And so I just thought that was interesting, something we'll have to ask some questions about. Yeah, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It was just an interesting thing that I thought our reading scores might be a little bit lower based on what I was hearing from classroom teachers and through program leaders and our division principals. And so that was an interesting one. In areas where there are particular high or low scores, there's probably a reason behind it. And you know, whether that's there's a particular curricular focus in that grade level, or if our program leaders are doing work across our schools on that particular topic, a new curriculum being implemented, all could be possible reasons that we would need to look at. So just in terms of next steps, you know, one of the things I'll do is you saw the data divisionally. I can break that down and look at by school. We will do that. There will be some differences between our schools for sure. Those will be part of our superintendent's or the superintendent's visit through schools. We'll draw some attention to that and, you know, make sure schools are aware of that and see, well, help them come up with a plan to address it if it already isn't their school goal, which it often is because schools have access to this data. And I would actually, after the October 18th PD Day, which our program leaders are very, very engaged with, is I would like to sit down and ask them for their interpretation of some of this data. You know, one of the bullets that I highlighted, the second from the bottom there, is our grade 6, 7, 8 problem-solving scores are higher than the lower grades. And I'd like to get our numeracy program leaders' interpretation of that. Is that something that's a result of our numeracy assessment, the NAP program? Is that just a highlight to something that teachers do well in those grades where it gets a greater emphasis? I'm not sure, but I think our program leaders have a role in speaking to some of this data as well. So.
Thanks, Trevor. Any questions for Trevor? Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any evidence in all of this data that the remote teaching during COVID affected the learning of students? We're now 2 years on. Just wondering, did COVID affect students teaching-wise? I did, yes. I asked that question.
I can certainly answer that question in general terms. I don't know if I can answer it how it's reflected in this data because we would probably have to go back and do some comparisons year over years. But I don't think, you know, you're really going to find anyone in our system who would say that what happened during COVID and the remote learning periods and absences from school didn't have an impact on student learning. It most certainly did. And, you know, teachers would tell you that coming back out of COVID, and we still continue to see that as we welcome our kindergarten students into schools that maybe spent some of their formative language years in very isolated environments. And so that was last year's kindergarten group where not Sunrise research, but system-wide research right across North America would tell us that last year's kindergarten classes sort of had the weakest language skills coming into kindergarten, and they believe that's tied to during their most formative language years. They were at home, isolated, not experiencing many things that children of that age would have experienced. So,
yeah. Anything else for Trevor? Trustee Rowan?
While I appreciate the data that's provided in this report, I have a question that's kind of pertaining to the information that you provided verbally there. You mentioned your superintendent visits to schools, which got me thinking with it being a new school year and you being new in your role. I'm curious to know if this year yourself, Jody, and Lars will continue to be going to the schools on basically your 6-week rotation, so the schools are seeing one of you every 2 weeks.
So yes, we are, and that calendar has been distributed to schools. I'll actually be starting my first round of visits next week. And so the one thing that I would share with the group is I believe that Kathy did 5 rounds of visits. And I think when I just looked at my own calendar being the first year in the role and the pace of everything that was going on, I had reduced by 1 round. And so I'll be going formally to schools 1 less round on those school visits than Kathy had done in the past. But I would expect next year, once I kind of get my feet back up underneath me here, that I would go back up to the same number of rounds that Kathy was doing in the past.
Good question. Anyone else? So one of the things that you say in here, Trev, is that further investigation will take place to see if the data represents of all schools or individual schools. So we'd love to hear back to us so that if it's an individual school, what's the plan? And then do we need to go ahead and if there aren't resources, I guess the question is, our job is about making sure about that there's enough resources to do things. And so if we're saying, and I just looked at Trustee Boyton, if there's an issue, certainly at one of letting them choose Hazelwood School, and there isn't one, by the way, you know what, would we, do you know what can we do to, what's the plan if there was something like there? Please come back to us certainly with that information and we'll see where we get to. Okay, thanks, Trev. Is that 8.2 is now graduation data, so that's for you.
I don't know if there's anything actually to report on this. I think this one is here just for information. I went back through this report historically through you know, the annual board meetings, and I didn't see any information attached. So I think the data is pretty self-explanatory. It's just our numbers of graduates and our graduating students that received recognition through the Sunrise Gold Medal or Governor General's Medal.
Any questions from anyone? Trustee Nicol?
Do you know when the graduation data for the whole province will be out?
No, I don't know that. I know the province has just rolled out a new data/information dashboard, and so we'll see as things get uploaded there. I know if we go back to last year, we waited quite a length of time for our grade 3-4 assessment data. We were supposed to have our grade 7-8 assessment data in the spring, and we haven't received that yet. And so we'll see when the provincial data gets rolled out.
Any others? So the graduation data doesn't really tell us that, you know, there's 87% kids that graduated at one school or the other. And I think that overall, hopefully that you're looking into that kind of information, because we as trustees, you're giving us some very high level information right here. But again, as trustees, one of the things that we're looking for is that if there is an issue at one of our schools, what are we doing about it? And right now we don't know that, and that's something that you would go ahead and I guess tell us. I always want to put that in the back of your mind. If there's a problem somewhere, what are we doing about it and how are we solving it? So just keep that for the future. 8.3 is teacher evaluations. Jeff?
So this report is a follow-up to the request from the board back in the spring. We completed our first round of teacher evaluations on our 5-year staff rotational evaluation schedule. And so I was asked to bring a report forward to see, you know, how many reports were completed. So the data is there. I'll just go through it quickly. There were 66 teachers scheduled to be evaluated in the first year of rotation, and 58 of those were completed, leaving 8 undone, of course. And the reasons there for the 8 that are undone are on the report. Of course, 5 teachers left the employment, the division during the school year, so they couldn't be finished. 1 teacher changed roles and schools over the year, so that evaluation didn't continue in the change. 1 teacher went on maternity leave, and then we did have 1 evaluation that was not completed with no real explanation provided. So when we look at that, you know, our school leaders, our principals, our vice principals, they completed 58 out of 59 teacher evaluations. So that's, I would say that's a very strong rate of return on that, and we can consider that successful year 1 on our 5-year rotation. So worth noting that above the teachers that are on the 5-year rotation, our school administrators are also expected to evaluate teachers that are new to the profession or those that may be experienced but are new to Sunrise. And so when we add those additional categories in, the workload from school to school can vary quite a bit, you know, for the administrator or the administrative team. And so our division principals are available to go into schools and help with those evaluations if a school identifies, you know, an additional or an especially onerous workload. And they did that this year. So thanks to them for helping there. Next steps, we'll follow up with the school that did miss the 1 evaluation. I think that school completed 7 of 8, so even on that school, that was a pretty good rate of return, but I will follow up to see if there was a specific concern or support that's needed. If it was a workload issue, why did they not ask for division principal help, and just make sure if that's the case, it was there. And the next thing we're going to do is myself, Mr. Spielberg, and our 2 division principals. We've already asked Jennifer Baker to pull all the evaluations, and she has them. And we'll read through those. We'll look for some patterns, some trends. We'll kind of do an assessment of quality. We'll follow up with our individual school administrators, and we'll revisit the topic at a mid-year kind of SELT meeting as well, and provide some feedback to school administrators on the evaluations and collect some feedback from them on the process as well.
Thanks, Trev. Any questions? Okay, so we're going to move on to, Trustee Harris.
I want to highlight one word in the first sentence. Sunrise School Division started a teacher evaluation rotation in the 2023-24 school year. That implies we weren't evaluating teachers before that, doesn't it? That's how I interpret the word started. I don't know if that was the appropriate word or not. What do we do before that year to evaluate teachers?
Prior to that, and it was well spoken about with, within our SELF group, we would have been evaluating our new teachers, and we did not have a program to go back and evaluate, teachers that had been with us for an extended period of time. So former superintendent, Timko, she, identified that, and she was the one that put the rotation together. So we actually did start the rotation. It was year one of a 5-year cycle, and now every teacher in Sunrise will be evaluated every 5 years, as long as they continue employment with us.
Thanks, Trevor. Anyone else? Okay. So our universally accessible nutrition program, I was having a hard time saying that. So, Trev?
Again, a report that the board asked me to bring forward. I think I've shared, some or much of this information, with you before, but, we added something to it, and you wanted kind of a bit more of a description of what the programs actually looked like. So, again, the program was rolled out very quickly and without a lot of structure and without a lot of direction by the province, but that's not a criticism because the province themselves were very transparent with the fact that they were doing this quickly because they did not want to delay getting funding to schools so schools could provide nutrition for students. So the total amounts are there, and I think, pull up the report. Also included the amounts and the allocations to schools. So you can see how it broke down across our schools. Schools were asked to identify the number of students that they felt had unmet nutritional needs, and then we took the dollars and allocated them on sort of that per pupil basis based on their identification. In terms of the programs that the schools are offering, we'll pull Powerview out as the designation of community school because their model is going to look quite different, and they're partnering with their canteen provider who they're contracting with, and their canteen provider will help them provide a pretty robust breakfast and lunch program with the dollars that they were allocated as a community school. Powerview School also has their classroom-based snack program, both in the elementary and in the high school. They have a breakfast room that students can access. So they'll be expanding on those programs as well. But in terms of the remaining 12 schools that received funds, all of the schools have some sort of existing program. So nobody's starting from scratch. They're all building off of something and going forward from there. So nobody is, like I say, starting from scratch. They've all got something to build from. 8 of our schools are hiring some additional staff or adding time to existing staff members to help facilitate. In most schools, that looks like 1 or 1.5 hours, either being added to an EA or a lunch monitor, someone to come in early and prepare things in the morning before students arrive. So there are things there that teachers can hand out or students can access, throughout the day. 2 schools are partnering with a service provider who will be preparing items off-site and bringing it into school for teachers to distribute. And we actually have 1 school that's actually partnering. Pretty cool partnership. They're partnering with their local community resource center, who is going to be doing the shopping and supplying, items for them as well. So, and just in terms of next steps, this, as it indicated, I've said it a couple of times, this is a learning year for all the schools. This is a brand new program, in terms of the scope and the scale that we're offering it on. So we'll be learning as we go, and what's important with that is that we continue to collect feedback from schools, and we give schools a chance to partner and talk with each other about how their programs are going, and we learn from the first year's experience so we can do even a better job in year 2.
Thanks, Trev. Any questions for Trevor? Trustee Nicol?
In the future, do you visualize whether the 35% spent on equipment and staffing would go down and more money spent on food?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the province will change those. The one thing that I can say is right now, divisionally, and I think across all sites, I would be confident in saying we won't be spending 35% on staffing or equipment or supplies. We will already be spending, probably significantly more. I'm going to say up to 80% on food already. And I would think that just from an operational standpoint, once we've bought the fridges, once we've purchased the microwaves, we won't do that again next year. So I think even next year we'll see even another increase being spent on food. So the language that comes from the province is a minimum of 65% spent on nutrition and a maximum of 35%. And we're already over the 65 and under the 35 as a division, and each of our sites, I believe, are as well. And I would, like I say, see that going up next year.
Anything else for Trevor? Trustee Smith?
I was wondering what school was partnering with that community group.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing that, I guess, for the group here. That would be Beausejour Early Years. And so they're partnering with ACL here in Beausejour.
Don, it was Trustee Nicol. It was very interesting listening to the radio last week when some of the city divisions were talking about that they didn't like the 65%, 35% split, and they wanted to be able to, whether they had more ability to go to the 35, spend more on the 35, because they didn't think that they were able to do it. And it was interesting the comments coming back from the minister and, you know, talk to us and see where things are going. But I'm really glad to hear from Trevor that, you know what, we're beyond the 35% spending on people and equipment as opposed to food. Fair? So that's pretty good to hear. Trustee Smith.
I was just wondering, I know at some of our schools, the food in them, like at one of our schools, we have an individual that has a business in the school that they actually make profit out of it. Do we have resources that we have in there that kids can get for free as well? How is that going to affect the business portion?
I would probably need to do a little bit of research on that specific example, but I do know that any of the funds or opportunity that's provided through the Universally Accessible Nutrition Program has to come at no cost. So I will speak a little bit to the PowerView example where they are partnering with their current canteen provider. Is the school will be paying the provider to, you know, make sandwiches, snacks, cut vegetables, whatever that is, and those will be provided free to students. Above and beyond that, that canteen provider will still continue to operate as, you know, over the lunch hour for students who are not accessing the Universal Nutrition Program and actually purchasing different items, you know, for lunch.
Thanks, Trev. Anyone else? Trustee Boyton.
I just want to say kudos to the staff at our schools and our communities, because it sounds like they're being very creative. It was kind of given to them short notice with no criteria, and they had to figure it out. It sounds like they're looking for resources that they can tap into to make this all happen. And kudos to the communities for jumping in and helping out in that way. And I mean, it's just a win-win for our kids.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I was fortunate enough to drop into Beausejour Early Years this morning while ACL was handing out the food, and they were very organized. They had everything labeled, ready to go to what classroom, and I just want to say kudos to all the work there. That it was a new challenge and a new thing, and it seemed like the food was being delivered where it needs to be, and they were very aware of allergies of students, so kudos to them.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's going to be a topic that we're going to want to continue to get some information from you, Trev and Jody, about the nutrition program and how it's running, you know, in all of our schools, because you've identified certainly the needs of our kids, and also then when kids they've got something in their bellies, it's learning's a lot easier. And so if you can continue to keep us informed certainly of where those things are going, that's part of the engagement that we'll continue to have as trustees to find out ourselves, certainly some of those things. So thanks for that. 8.6 is our divisional PAC information that's here. Oh, I knew that. 8.5. Thank you, Mr. Harris. So the divisional PAC, so there's a recommendation here. Did you want to go?
5.
Okay.
I'll go back to 8.5, just a strategic plan update. I'll make a few comments before I turn it back over to Paul to maybe lead some board discussion if that's necessary. But just a reminder to everyone that the board does have a strategic plan for the years 2023 to 2026 there. And, you know, there's the main ideas, the domains, and the priority areas. But just a reminder that last year, last spring, in the review of the strategic plan, the board identified community connections as a priority for 24-25 school year. And you did put together, you know, some of the actions that you wanted to take this year, and some of them in terms of information to schools and getting some invitations and being added to lists and distribution lists has been done. We'll do that again at the September SELT meeting, and, you know, try and take a couple, make sure that that's happening for you so you have the information you're looking for. And also on the report, I just did kind of shade and highlight there a couple of things that I thought maybe that the trustees, you know, could accomplish in the next little while, things that were topical. And of course, you did identify a couple things for your, you know, the municipal forums, and you've got one coming up on October 21st. And so, you know, just a reminder to the board, you said you didn't necessarily want to sit with a group at that, and you wanted to kind of break out and sit with the RMs and mix and mingle, and possibly you maybe wanted to ask for a little bit of dedicated time to do a presentation at the municipal forum as well. We do have time on the agenda to do some sharing. That's typically taken the form of, you know, the superintendent doing some sharing, and I don't mind continuing at that. But if you wanted to take that time as a board and do the sharing with your voice, or maybe a combination of both, some decisions that, you know, you can make and discuss.
Thanks, Trev, and thanks for keeping me on track, Trustee Harris, about our action plan. But when you go to this, the action plan and the parts that we're talking about, we've discussed some of these kind of things. Obviously, there's a lot more that you can get involved with, but is there anything that anybody wants to point out that's not on there, or it's something we want to go ahead and add, or any of these comments? Now, does it mean that every trustee has to do everything that's on here? Of course not, but it's really about what is possible. Anybody want to make any comments certainly about this? Okay, so again, keep tracking for yourself as to where some of those things that you're out there going ahead and doing. And again, some of don't think that we're stuck to the 5 or 6 or 7 different things that are out there that we're doing. One trustee has a group where he brings and you know what, meets with people to get an idea about how things are going. A number of you are very active in your schools, that you have the time to go ahead and do that. Kudos to you. And again, I think it's just trying to get a pulse from parents and from students about how things are going. So I think that, again, we encourage to get out to as many things as possible. And again, we're asking to, not that we want to pick out and say, oh, here's Don Nickel that's there. It's really about people feel comfortable about then, you know, oh, I didn't know that Don Nickel was our trustee, and I'm going to go and maybe talk to him about something and to go ahead and share. Am I missing anything from anyone about where we are with this? Anybody want to add comments? Go ahead, Trustee Boyton.
Just that I see it as a living document that we're just going to always keep adding, and it's going to evolve around what we're doing as a board.
Great point. It is about it living, and I think that it's also, you know, when we hear that Trustee Boyton does something, and this is what we went ahead and did, a couple of us could be saying, oh, that's a good idea, I do that, or I'd never do that. But that's what it's all about, so good point as to where it is. Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Trev, for certainly helping us with that. Now on to the divisional PAC group that's there. So you saw the information that is here. We do need to decide tonight on a date. We've kept those 2 dates beside for us, the 22nd or the 24th. There are a number of topics that have come from, we've had 2 PACs that have come up from it. We do need to, if we need to prepare something, then we do need to make sure that we have something then available, because this needs to get out. We did say that we would give it a try to see it, to do it remotely and in person, right? We did say that we would feed people. Steak and lobster probably going to feed people and stuff like that. I'm just kidding. But we did say that we would feed people certainly about being here. Obviously, people online, you know what, you would join us for the discussion afterwards. But I think that, you know, Trevor talked about a combination of some kind of a presentation and then, if possible, breakout groups. It's a little bit harder with people that are online, but we'll do the best about trying to accommodate people. But that's what we've talked about. Does anybody want to jump in on anything or any of the topics for discussion that, certainly from Gillis and from Whitemouth, there's been some suggestions. Anything from your PACs, any of those topics that you've read now, that's something that we should focus on. Trustee Nicol.
Are we making a decision now, or are we going back into in-camera to make a decision when it is?
I think that's up to the group here. If we can make a decision, let's make a decision. If we need to go back into in-camera, but if we can make one now, make some suggestions.
I just wanted to let the board know that I have been in contact with most of the PACs in the Oakbank area, and I do, while I haven't gotten a formal response back saying these are the topics we'd like to discuss, I do have members from the SCI PAC that would be interested in coming, as well as the Springfield Music Parents Association, provided that the dates work. I do think that one of the things that some of them might be interested in is engagement, especially considering that our SMS PAC basically has folded over the past year. They've tried to get it up and running, and it's just not something that they're able to get the parent engagement for. They are going to try again this year, but they're struggling. So if we could provide some kind of guidance on how they could engage parents from their schools to want to attend these meetings, I think that might be beneficial.
Thanks, Melissa. Don?
Yeah, I'll ask this question here. Is that we had a PAC meeting last night, and the question was, is there a limit on the number of people that can come from a PAC? Otherwise, my whole PAC might be coming if you don't put a limit on.
Personally, if we've got people that want to come, I'm not sure why we say you can't come. Now, but I'm open to if we want to limit it to 2 or 3 people from each PAC, or if, you know what, Whitemouth has 6 to 10 people that want to come, then, you know what, why not? Anyways, that's my opinion. Thoughts?
I'm just looking at logic too, because if you said we're going to have supper, we better have an RSVP, because if we are planning supper for 25 and 125 shows up, we are not very...
I think that you're absolutely right. We want to know, but we would go to the PACs and find out. Yeah, go ahead.
Just my own recommendation would be is, yes, absolutely make it an RSVP event, but I wouldn't limit the numbers until you had to, right? If all of a sudden your RSVP list is getting quite large and now logistically the event is becoming more than we think we can handle or take on, then we unfortunately might have to go back to a couple PACs and say, we're going to have to ask you to reduce your numbers just based on the size of our event. But no need to limit numbers until we, certainly have a concern, I would say.
So I'm hearing most head nodding like that's okay. Mr. Dent, is there head nodding? All right. So guess what? If Whitemouth wants to bring a gazillion, well then that's great. So that's kind of, I think, where we are, Don, is that let's take the recommendation. Trustee Harris?
one of the items of notes in this is to have breakout groups, and the more that come from a pack, the more that can split out. If they only send one, then they're not going to get the full benefit of attending all the different breakout groups. We can get a half a dozen or more from each pack. We can have 3 or 4 breakout groups. They can then, as Melissa and I found going to our CSBA, we were able to get to more discussions on that. And I would suggest we meet on Tuesday, October 22nd.
So the challenge will be is that if we have breakout groups and we have people that are joining us online, it's very difficult to do that. But that's, again, we'll try to, that's where we have the brains here to help us to go ahead and do that. Trustee Nicol?
The breakout groups very simple with online. You break out online. You have the breakout groups. You can do that on Teams. You can break out in, so only the team people will be breaking out with team people. So that's not a problem.
Well, so I think that we need 2 things. We need a date, and we need something that we're going to go ahead and probably look to present to them or give, pass some information on. So I heard, we see all the bullets that are here. We heard Melissa talk about, you know, about how do we engage PACs, you know, about getting them out. Because some of us are saying that we're having some challenges about going ahead and doing that. We had Trustee Harris turn around and say that he wanted to come on the 22nd. So, first of all, 22nd. Are we good on the 22nd? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us on the 22nd. On the 24th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
So 5 and 6 is 11. Hello.
Well, you're good for either day. Okay, we need to choose one. So obviously the majority is going to rule here for us. And so again, let's go back. Who can make the 22nd? 1, 2, 3, 4. Either one. Okay, and then who can make the 24th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like the 24th is better. Okay? 24th. Go ahead.
So just for like the logistics of the evening, without checking with Jody, I'm going to say maybe if the board wants to identify, you know, 2 trustees or 3 trustees to work with the 2 of us to actually, you know, sort of map out what the evening could potentially look like and kind of do that legwork, that would, maybe that's the best way to move forward and tackle that, so.
We'll come up with a plan. Nice work, certainly, everyone. Okay, now I did 8.5 and 8. Oh, Trustee Nichols, sorry.
Because of the way the PAC meet, we have to have this information, which I've always said before. We always give information too late because a PAC meeting is, they meet on October the 1st. Well, if you don't get out by October the 1st, they don't meet until November, and that when we're meeting on October the 21st. So it's got to be out pretty quick.
Even if we just do save a date, you know, so that they can put that date aside. And I was just thinking that for the schools that don't have PACs, I mean, if you sent it out to the principals, and then I know my NOLA school doesn't have one right now, then I would contact the principal and say, would you suggest anybody? And I would contact those parents and see if anybody's interested in it, in attending.
Yeah, no, but a great point on certainly about it, about we know the date and we'll try to get topic out as soon as possible. So it's arranging Trustee Boyton, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Harris, myself to meet with the crew and go from there. That's our plan. Thank you for that. School tours, I think, is this you, Trev?
Yeah, so of course, a couple times a year, the board goes out and visits some schools and you do some school tours. And so put together a tentative schedule based on the schools that still needed to be visited. So, we shared it in the report there. So, Gross School, Whiteshell Colony, Centennial School in Lac Du Bonny, have some lunch in Lac Du Bonny. While we're there, one of the sites that you still haven't visited was the adult education site. So there is one in Lac Du Bonny. We can do that after lunch. And then potentially just make the 25-minute trip up the road and see a second adult ed site in Powerview, which I do believe is the division's largest in terms of the amount of students that it services. And so we did identify 3 potential dates, October 29th, November 6th, and November 7th. So those are dates that Derek and Jody and I are available to go on the tours there. So if the board is able to, pick between those 3 dates, we can confirm with schools and make some lunch arrangements and book a tour. So.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I just wanted to mention that November 6th is Take Your Kids to Work Day, so I don't know if that would impact our tour, but it might impact some of our students and potentially some of our staff if they are accommodating students that day.
We have any trustees that are taking their kids to work?
Not this year.
Okay. Okay. Trustee Nickel?
Can we just vote on October 29th or November the 7th?
We'll go there, but I want to talk, go ahead, Trustee Wilson.
I'm just wondering if Lac Du Bonny could possibly move back to the Monday of that week?
So Trustee Wilson did come to me and said is that Monday would be better, and she does want to see if it's possible about trying to get to see her the tours to her schools. But anyways, that's comment.
I just think the comment would be the only date that the senior administrators are available in the time frame of the back end of November and the front end of November were those 3 dates. Sarah, would that be correct? Yeah.
So there's your, sorry Donna, but there's your answer. So I guess the question is school tours, Tuesday the 29th, the 6th to the 7th, open for Trustee Boytson. So, November the 7th. November the 7th? So it looks like the majority can go November the 7th, and not all trustees make it, but I think we've got our answer on November the 7th. Go ahead.
Just one more thing I'll add. It just kind of popped into my head while we were talking tonight. While we're up in Powerview, you'll be seeing the second adult education site, so probably not too many more questions for Tanis Magnuson, our adult ed principal. If we can make it work, do we want to stop into Powerview School and see their community schools universally accessible nutrition program as well? I think we could probably, so if that's of interest, then we can sort of add that to the back end of the day there.
Remember, it's worth the trip. Hey, isn't there a little slogan, it's worth the trip somewhere? Yeah. Come on. Trustee Smith.
I will be needing a ride.
Okay, we can work that somewhere, but it looks like we've got that moving forward. Okay? Thank you for that. Signing authority, so basically, oops, somebody's got a microphone on. Okay? So be it resolved that the board approve the Secretary Treasurer Jody Thiessen, the Finance Manager Matthew Bialik, the Chair of the Board Paul Magnan, the Vice Chair Robin Harris, and the Chair of the Finance Committee Don Nickel as our Sunrise School Division signing authority. And a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Boytson, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions to it? Hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you for that. 8.9, Springfield Collegiate. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Springfield Collegiate Institute hockey trip to Tampa Bay, Florida, subject to superintendent's approval and bringing on the coach of the Power View school team with him, I think, for sure. No. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, sorry, I should read this out properly. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Springfield Collegiate hockey trip to Tampa, Florida, January 15th to the 20th, subject to superintendent's final approval. I need to move in a seconder. Moved by trustee Dent, seconded by trustee Rowan. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I think this is one of our first couple of times, and we have another one coming up, where we're going to have an international field trip after COVID. I think this is great. We're finally being able to get out and about, and to have our schools get out to international events is fantastic.
Just wait till you see the one I'm bringing for Finland. Anyways, any other comments? I think that's great, Trustee Harris, for us to be moving to get our kids doing stuff like that. It's priceless. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Okay, so we passed 9-0. Thank you for that. I think Springfield Collegiate was a little bit worried there. I thought that maybe I was saying no to it all or something. Okay, we got Springfield band trip. So be it resolved, the board approve in principle the Springfield Collegiate Institute band trip to Kansas City, Missouri, April 11th to 15th, subject to the superintendent's final approval. Mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Dent, seconded by trustee Rowland. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Past 9-0, thank you. Committee reports, the policy committee update. Policy committee chair, trustee Rowan, anything to share with us? Okay, so we've got 2 meeting dates. How come it says, oh, the last meeting, upcoming meeting, October the 10th, thank you for that. Finance committee, Chair Nicol, your next meeting date, anything to come out of the finance?
Our next meeting is going to be on September the 19th, and so I'll report back at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So there's no minutes, there's no check register. The Education Foundation, we have a meeting coming up scheduled for October the 30th, thank you. The Land Ad Hoc Planning Committee. Melissa, the next meeting is the 26th of September. Nothing then to come back to us with? Okay. So that's 8.18, professional development information. So the municipal forum is on October the 21st. I'm assuming then that people need to get that to you, Sarah. So please get that information to Sarah about whether you're attending or not. MSBA is November the 1st. Please get that information to Sarah. And think ahead, as the CSBA Congress is July 2nd to the 5th in Winnipeg, and why I'm suggesting think ahead, that if you're going to look to book a room, we should be booking rooms now. If you're looking at going to this, because it is something from what I heard on last weekend at the MSBA executive meeting, is that people need to be considering about booking rooms ahead of time to go ahead and do this. Trustee Boytson.
I believe Trustee Harris suggested at the last meeting just to book rooms for everybody, and then we could always cancel if we don't need them, because they will book up fast.
Sarah, you got that? Thank you very much. Okay. Capsule, Trustee Rowland, did you want to go ahead and do some sharing?
I've had the report attached to this section now. It was just about the online training, the PD, and it's quite a detailed report. You can go through it. But
is there anything?
Children's rights, anything to I think it's a good read. If you have a chance to go back and see it, it does talk about parents' responsibilities and school boards' responsibilities. And I just found it interesting about children's rights. And I did have one, I do have my note here, but I did have one little beef with that presenter's point of view, I guess, for that committee, because one of the things that the framework that they base this presentation on is that children, let's see, oh yes, here it is. Pardon? Fully formed people and not people in waiting. So I had a little problem with accepting the fact that children are fully formed people when they're physically not and mentally. Of course, we all know their brains and frontal lobes are still growing, so I had a little problem with the statement of that right off the hop. But reading further, you can see that that's a premise that many people might hold already. So see how your opinions fall on that.
So when you interrupted the speaker, did you tell him that you were from Seine River School Division and go ahead?
I was virtual, I was online, so I didn't have a chance to agree with anybody. But yeah, and it is developing interesting topics that will be coming forward because UN has also recognized children's rights, and but primarily they're the same as all human rights. But that one definition was didn't sit quite right with me. But you can see how you feel. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thanks, Dan, for bringing that forward. Board correspondence. So certainly information there. Nice to know information. Thanks, Sarah, for putting that together. One of the things that many other school divisions do is they have an MSBA section on the agenda all the time, and it's for information that's coming through, whether it's information that's from MSBA or whether it's an opportunity for us to discuss what's it called, resolutions, those kind of things. Something for us to think about if we want to put a standing item and like add it to number 12, 13 or whatever, have an MSBA standing item, and for us to populate that with information from MSBA. I do send you an awful lot of information that flows through me to you, but most school divisions, if you go to take a look at their minutes or their agendas, do have an MSBA standing item on their agenda. Anyways, it's something to think about. So we've got upcoming meetings that are listed there. Thanks for going ahead and doing that. And of course, you're going to populate our calendars, Sarah, with all the things that we talked about tonight. Questions? Do we have any questions, Jody?
All quiet. No emails. No
Okay.
questions.
So it is 8:39. We do need to move back into in-camera. Please refresh my memory. Is there going to be any kind of decisions coming out of in-camera? There won't be any resolutions, so to let people know is that there's not going to be really resolutions coming out. But they're more than welcome to join back in as to where for us to finish off, but to give people a heads up. Thank you. So we're going to do that right now.